There we go. Okay, I am calling the meeting of the Six-Town Regional Planning Board Finances, Transportation Facilities Subcommittee to order. Today, Tuesday, May 18th at 4:34 p.m. We are meeting remotely over Zoom because of continuing COVID concerns. So we will do attendance and votes by roll call vote. So first I'll do an attendance. Jane Blyer. I'm sorry, Jane Dutcher.
Here.
As you can tell, I'm doing well today. Lynn Reynolds.
Here.
Alan Genovese.
Present.
Mike Naughton present. And Greg, you're on this committee. Greg Snedeker.
Here. Well, I'm not. I'm sort of on the committee.
Okay, well, whatever. So we have David Young and Michelle Giruso are not with us today. And we also have Matt Abrahams and Mark Abrahams and Joanne Blyer joining us as well. So first order of business is to approve minutes. We have minutes from both April 20th and May 4th. Do I hear a motion?
Did everyone get the final version of the April 20th meeting?
Yes,
I did. Would someone like to move to approve them?
I'll move to approve those minutes.
Okay, I will second that.
I only saw the April 20th minutes. I didn't see the others.
Well, the other ones just, we'll get to those in a minute.
All right.
And Jane, the April 20th looked good to me.
I fixed those few things that you said, and I don't think I sent it again after that.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
they were just misspellings or punctuation.
Okay.
And I don't know why my spell checker didn't pick those up. I'm going to have a talk with her. Talk with him.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Any other discussion? Anybody else notice anything? Okay, motion to approve. Let's see, Jane Dutcher,
Aye.
Lynn Reynolds,
Aye.
Alan Genovese,
Aye.
Greg Snedeker,
Aye.
Mike Naughton, aye. So motion minutes are approved. Jane, you want to send me the final version?
Final? Yes.
Yeah, and then I will get it posted.
Okay.
Actually, once you send it around to everybody, including me, that way.
Okay.
I
And
don't
you'll
have
take
to
all
do
those
that.
others down.
Yes, I will do that. My suggestion on the minutes from May 4th is that we hold off until next week so we can all take a look at them,
Sounds good to me.
unless someone,
I just wanted to make a comment.
yes, Lynn.
Yes. I felt a little bit overwhelmed in the discussions because you really got in the weeds. And so a lot of it I didn't understand, so I tried to parse it. So what I tried to do was put in kind of what the bottom lines were, but a lot of that excruciating detail's not there. Now, if you need that detail, I'd really appreciate it if other people would lend their expertise to that.
Okay. Okay, well, everybody should look them over between now and next week. and come up with, anything you notice that is either a mistake or isn't there and should be there. And I think the practice is, Lynn, that we should let you know so that you can put out a corrected copy if you do get feedback
I'm happy to
before
do that.
our next
Yep.
meeting.
Yes.
Okay. And that actually brings up a question. I believe it's Michelle's turn this time to take minutes, but she's not here.
Oh, well, I hope she does a good job. All right.
She
well, you'll
did,
send-
she did say that she would watch the meeting, so we could tell her she's supposed to take minutes, but I don't know if that's a good idea.
No, you'll send me the recording and I'll do my best.
Okay, well,
But
thank you.
I'm
Tina.
with Lynn. I don't think that minutes need to be verbatim of what happened in the meeting. They need
I agree.
to express the high points. And
Right, I think, as I understand it, it's basically a judgment call. What I remember from the open meeting law training that I took after the changes the state made a few years ago is that the minutes are supposed to tell someone who wasn't at the meeting basically what happened.
what, yeah,
Give
what you
them a
covered,
sense of
not
what
what you
happened.
said.
Right, so although they don't have to be verbatim by any means, you want to have more. I know people had been saying, all you need is the motions and the results. And the answer kind of came back, no, you need more than that, because if someone wasn't at the meeting and there are discussions, they're supposed to have a basic idea of what that discussion was about, what the different points were, et cetera. So, and which is a tricky thing to do. I mean, it's a lot to ask for citizen volunteers. I think it's easier for some of the bigger places that maybe have someone, an employee of the town whose job it is to do that sort of thing. But we don't have that, so we just got to do the best we can. But that is why everyone should look at them, because if we have a bunch of eyes looking at them, then hopefully everything important will get in there and be as correct as we can make it. So that's what we're going to do.
So Mike, your next meeting is on the 25th, correct? At 6:40. Is that right?
We haven't decided yet, Alan. We'll get to that.
Oh, I wrote it down from the last meeting. Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's I would, yeah, it might be. I mean, I think that's probably a good guess, but we need to confirm that
Okay.
that's what people want to do.
Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda is Joanne has agreed to, I asked her to, since we're getting updates on kind of where we're at, I thought it'd be good to get an update on where we're at with the transportation study. So Joanne, it's all yours.
So we had a kickoff meeting last week where I met with Pam from Cosmescus and the people from TransFinder so that way they could get a good handle on what we wanted. And so as I was entering that meeting, they were talking about having the bus drop off at the high school and then extend the route up to Pioneer. And I said, no, that is not what we're looking for. We want individual routes done. So a route goes in Berniston, does all of high school in Berniston. Maybe it does middle school and then transfers the kids, but we need to get all the kids into the schools on time. So Pam understands clearly what we're looking for transportation. So she's going to help them with that. They seem to understand it after our conversation. We sent all of our data off to TransFinder so they can upload it into the system to get started. I saw Tanya here. Tanya, did you get your student enrollment data sent off to TransFinder and Pam? Thought I saw Tanya on here.
Yeah, well, her phone's up, just Tanya's
It says
iPhone.
she's here.
Okay. So as soon as
Can you
they
hear
have
me?
all, yes.
There we go.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm driving and I had my thing on it. I can't hear you guys very well just on my phone, but yeah, so Pam requested that and our guidance counselor got it to her from the high school. We did send over 6th grade data from one of our schools because the idea is that 6th grade will be part of that. And I did request it from my other school and I didn't get it back. So I would like our 6th graders to be part of that just because next year they'll be at PVRS. So it doesn't make sense to do it without them.
Okay. Did you
So
pull your
I'm not
5th graders?
sure what
Because the
happened with
5th
that.
graders, did you pull the 5th graders too? Because the 5th graders will be in 6th grade next year? Or are you not moving 6th grade to?
So realistic,
school.
I mean, this isn't going to happen next year. So this is just like a mock up of how many kids and what a route would look like. So we're using our current year student data because we don't know what kids are exactly going to be in the schools next year because we're going to have choice in kids and obviously choice doesn't get transportation, but so we use current year's data, not next year's data.
Right. And so they have our current data too, and they're gonna move kids to the new school as if the current students are gonna be the ones attending next year.
So I'm
So,
confused. Can you clarify, Joanne, wouldn't you be using your present 5th graders who would be 6th graders next year? Wouldn't you be using that information, not your present 6th grade?
right. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, so Tanya
we're
should be
just
using her
sending them-
present 5th grade.
All of the current enrollment, grade 5 through 12, they'll take the 12th graders out of there and then they'll assume that every 5th through 11th grader will be in middle or high school next year in our building. And then they're putting the routes together based on that. And granted, 3 years from now, or whenever, this can become one district, the enrollment will look very different, especially a non-COVID year. But that's what they're working with. They have to work with something. So if you can send them grade 5 through 12, they'll be able to use that the same as they're using ours.
So I'm not the one sending the data because I don't have access to Rediker and student data. It's my principals and their admin assistants. So I can ask that Berniston redo theirs and send the 5th grade to me instead of 6th grade. And I can try to get Megan to send me her 5th grade data too. Again,
and 6.
what?
Grade 5 and 6 from the elementary schools.
So it
If
would be, I guess 6 through 11 will be our 7 through 12. So the thought process was it really didn't, Pam said it didn't matter whether it was this year's data or next year's data, because just what you said, the reality is it's not, that enrollment is not going to be the same. They are just trying to put together a mock route to see if they can do it within the time constraints and how many buses they would need.
Right. So if you can just send them grade 5 through 12, then they'll have the same data from you that they have from me.
Okay, that's fine. I will have to reach back out to my schools again because, like I said, I haven't even got it from Megan because Pam told them that she didn't need 6th grade, but then I asked for it because I feel like if they're going to be at PVRS, they need to be involved in, they need to be in there.
Right. So grade 5 through 12.
Right.
And
Or
we just
5
pulled
through
all of
11.
our data.
No need to, there's no need to
just
even
pulled
have
it.
11, 12 in there.
We just pulled all of our student data from our database.
Again, I'm not the one pulling the data. So
Right.
I need,
Neither am I.
yeah,
So
I will just ask for 5 through 11 when they pull it.
Yeah.
And then the TransFinder doesn't have to delete data and worry about user error. We can just pull the data that is actually needed. So I will send another request for 5 through 11 instead of 6 through 12, which is what we provided. But again, I don't
Okay.
think it really, matters.
Well, we're trying to have the same data.
Right, you sent 5 through 12, right, Joanne?
I sent pre-K through 12. I just sent it all because it's all in the same database. So
Right,
it's just as easy to pull everything all at once.
and I would think that would be true for Pioneer also, and
Right.
then the two databases that go in will be matching.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I
so-
would ask that Tanya have the elementary principal send the entire population. So that it
Right.
winds up K through 12
Yeah.
for Pioneer also.
Yeah, I have my data person do this and she just downloads all the student data
Right.
into an Excel format from the whole district. And so Tanya, I would think that you have a data person that could pull all of it.
We do, but she's part-time, so if I ask her tomorrow, I don't know what her schedule is, so I will find out.
Yeah, it's just as easy to pull it all instead of
Yeah.
getting it from 4 or 5 different places.
Yeah, we only have 3, but I'll ask Dottie to pull the data instead. Again, I just personally don't think we should provide them more data than is needed because they're just gonna have to delete it and then you can have user error, but it's fine. I'll provide pre-K through 12. We don't need, yeah, I guess we have pre-K in there. I don't know if the pre-K goes in the Rediker system, but I would imagine they do. Again, I don't do the data, so, but I'll send another request.
Tanya, who's the data person at Pioneer?
I
Who
just
is the
said
data person?
it's Dottie Bacone, but she's part-time, so she's not
Oh.
there every day.
I
So
couldn't
I will
hear in
send
your,
an email. I'll send an email and request that she just sends me the whole data piece,
Joanne,
and I'll get
question.
that over to Pam.
Will it be possible to compare what a combined district looks like with what the 2 districts look like using the same student data as separate districts?
I'm not sure I got that.
Population-wise?
What we're talking about is to see what the bus routes would look like if the 2 districts were to be combined next year, right?
Right.
And I'm wondering if it's going to be possible to compare that with what the bus routes would look like with the 2 districts staying as they are next year.
Yeah.
Meaning that I think it'd be interesting to see sort of what will change as a result of combining districts.
Yeah.
Will it be fewer buses or will it be the same number of buses?
Right. Or will it be more?
Or will it be more? Exactly. I mean, that,
Yep.
um,
So
I
yeah,
think
it's
the most-
definitely possible to compare it. I think once we have all of this put together, then Pam will be able to say, and currently, this is what each district has.
right. Because I figure currently, I mean, I think it's unlikely that we're going to be combined next year. So
Right.
there will be current data available. But I just want to get
Yep.
that on the table.
Yep.
Okay.
Joanne, will we be getting the mileage for dead seats and live seats for in that report that we should be getting from them? And so we could compare, you know, how many miles we would have, whether we were separate or alone, so we get an idea of how many additional miles that, because then from there, once we know that, we could do all kinds of playing with, if, you know, depending on what the contracts are or what they're getting per bus or whatever, we
Yeah.
wouldn't have to go back and research that. We would know the mileage, and then we could apply whatever financial piece to see what that looked like.
Yeah, we could ask Pam to provide the mileage for each of our current routes. And then all of the new routes they would have mileages in that report. Is that something that it'll pull up? So, you know,
I'm
the 2
curious how
high
many
schools,
Yeah,
the 2 high schools are about, they're probably 8 or 9 miles apart. They're really not that far apart. So, you know, once you extend a route, some of them will be extended, but others might be shorter. For instance, you know, some of the students that live in Gill going to middle school at Pioneer would actually travel a shorter distance than if they're going to Turner's Falls High School.
okay. I wonder how many dead miles there will be in that whole thing with empty buses moving around. So that'll be good information.
Yeah, I asked Pam and she said she was also going to look at it to say, you know, we have a tech school bus that's also running into Leiden and bringing kids back. And so if one bus picks up all the kids and then transfers some to tech bus, some to the Turner's Falls bus, and then the Pioneer bus continues, you know, is some sharing possibilities in there. So that way
Yeah.
the empty buses aren't following each other around.
Yeah, that's good.
Jane, did you have something?
No, I'm just smiling at how history can repeat itself.
Okay, well, anything else for Joanne? Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
Joanne, did you get a timeline, Joanne, about when they're thinking they
question.
would, are they going to be rolling a little past the June 30th to tidy things up, or what do you think?
I'm hoping that they could get it all put together. They actually had a timeline. I don't have it in front of me, but they had a timeline in their proposal. And I think I shared their proposal with everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, we're a little behind on it, so they have to rush a couple of things. But as soon as they have these routes sort of, you know, a couple of them put together to show Pam, she's going to take a look at them, let them know these look good, or no, you need to change something, and then they'll finish the rest of the routes. So I don't see a problem with them having this to us by the end of June.
All right,
'Cause we
thank
have
you.
Pam all over it.
Thanks.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
Joanne, do you?
Yeah, and
do you
thank you,
want-
Tanya.
Yeah, and I just sent my email to Dottie requesting the data, so it's the same as what Joanne provided.
All right, thank you, Tanya.
Actually, I think they have a timeline here of delivering everything to Joanne by May 31st.
Might
And
be a
then-
little behind.
And then you have 2 weeks to review it and then deliver it to us by June 30th.
Okay. And
So,
Pam's gonna be part of that
thereabouts.
review, so.
Yeah,
okay. Well, Joanne, why don't you and I just be in touch about how things are going? Because I think we should get you back when there's more to report.
Okay,
But it seems like we don't really know when that's going to be at this point. So,
right. Yeah, they have to get all that data before they can even get started, but I think it'll be pretty quick once they have everything.
okay. So, and we can figure somewhere probably around the middle of June,
Yeah,
there'll be something available. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, sounds good.
all right.
Hey, Joanne?
Yep.
Just a heads up, off topic, the elementary school floor, the debt exclusion question was in the, on the ballot yesterday, so you should, Ray should be contacting Heath pretty soon about, you know, where we stand. But I don't expect it, you know, didn't pass, so.
You don't expect, you
I
expect
mean,
that it did pass?
I expected it did pass, yes.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Then maybe we can go out to bid and get that started.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mark and Matt, I think you're up. And as I said in the agenda, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge you did send us a couple of things this afternoon that I sent along to the rest of the committee members. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to really look at them. I know I glanced at them, but that's about it. But can we start with getting sort of an update on the things that are different from the tool? I thought maybe we'd do that first, and then we can focus on the tool and kind of make that most of the rest of the meeting.
So a quick update on Chapter 70. I received from Rob O'Donnell the Chapter 70 SOA projections through 27. They were, however, embedded in an email. I requested that he send the original Excel file, and he did. And Mikey received both of those, and it's on the, you'll be posting that to the shared drive. He
Yeah,
is,
I'd send it along to everybody. So people, if
Okay.
you did not get it, let me know. And it is on the shared drive.
it is the SOA projections for the combined district. He is going to send us the projections. This will be the Chapter 70 SOA projections for Gil Montague and Pioneer Valley as separate districts. So in our last report, we presented all that data. Gil Montague, Pioneer Valley as separate districts, Chapter 70 projections, and as a combined 6-town region. That also includes the minimum local required district contributions from each town, fiscal 23, 4, 5, 6, and 7, in addition to the preliminary 22 numbers. So that's a quick
Okay.
update on Chapter 70.
Okay, Mark, I do have a question on that. As I say, I only had a chance to look at it briefly, but I did notice that they seem to be assuming that Chapter 70 is going to go up. Basically, it looks like they're assuming that a combined district would not be a hold harmless district. And it also looked as if they expect enrollment to increase significantly from FY22 to FY23.
They're
And,
holding enrollment flat.
well, after FY23, I think it is, but they expect it to go up significantly from FY22 to FY23. And so I just thought I'd like to put this on the agenda for next week, I think, after people have had a chance to look at it. But I am curious, hoping you'll get a chance to look at it. And if you have things you need to clarify with Rob, maybe you can just so we can sort of keep things moving here. I'm just curious what their assumption was about a combined district being hold harmless, because in the last report it sounded as if a combined district would be in a hold harmless situation, sort of going forward indefinitely. And from the numbers, the way I just looked at them, it looked to me as if that they might not be making that assumption on this time. So I'm just curious to know what assumptions, if that's true, if what they are doing. So Jane, you had something?
Yes, his comments say that it would be a minimum aid district through FY24 and then a foundation district. The first comment at the top of the sheet, you have to scroll to the right forever to read
Okay.
comments.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say.
I was going to divide those up so I could see them all on the same page, but I haven't gotten around to that yet.
Yeah, the big jump is after 24.
Yep.
Okay. Well, maybe that answers the question. I mean, I assume that's because the SOA, because the enrollment is flat. So
It's the changes in the foundation budget rates that go up
okay.
on an annual basis. To the extent that NASDAQ comes back with enrollment increases that are materially different, Rob Hanna might adjust the SOA projections, but we won't know that until the end of May.
Okay. So that's a Chapter 70 SOA.
And so does that, Mark, what did that show for a percent increase from the 24 on?
I can run those numbers for you for next week, but I don't have them with me today.
Okay.
The second update is on the tool itself. Mike, that's what
Mark, can we leave the tool to the end?
that's what we've been working on.
Right. Okay. So is okay. So
Yeah.
Nothing to report on any other front then.
Well, other than, I'm checking to see if NASDAQ is still on schedule for the end of May for the enrollment update. And we'll have an update on that status for you.
Okay.
So I want to give some summary introductions on the tool, because we could get into excruciating detail with what Matt has put together. As you're aware, we want to code, in addition to the current coding in Pioneer Valley and in Gil Montague, grade level and subject. So what Matt has done is to put together, from a programming point of view, trying to identify the various subjects, and he came up with a listing of 35 subjects for Gil Montague. And then in Pioneer Valley, was able to fit generally the Pioneer Valley subjects into the listing of 35 from Gil Montague with some stretches. He had to take some of the subject areas and fit them where he thought they belonged in Gil Montague. And I know subjects was, to use a term again, the subject of much of our discussion last week. So he's going to show you that. And there was one exception. Tanya, you had woodworking that Joanne did not have. So he created a 36th. When we get into that subject presentation, how granular do you want to get with respect to subjects? And that will become clearer as Matt presents that. He also is setting up the workbook so he can reconcile back to existing salaries, just to make sure that he has captured all of the positions in both Gil Montague and in Pioneer Valley. So I'm going to turn Matt loose to show you this. There are, as you remember, many tabs from Pioneer Valley in the original file, and one tab from Gil Montague in the original file. Matt has created more tabs. And again, I don't want to get into all the weeds of this because we'll be here for 3 hours, but I want him to highlight where he is, some of the issues that have popped up, some of the follow-up he will need with Joanne, and some of the follow-up he will need with Tanya. Does that sound like a good approach?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Matt.
Okay, I like to show my work as I talk about it. Is everyone okay with looking at the tool as I speak about it?
Certainly.
Okay, and if that's the case, then I can share it, or Mike, if you prefer, you can share it. What's your preference?
Why don't you try to share it? I've tried to give you the ability to share here, so.
Oh, I gotta move it from this monitor to this one. Okay, you should be able to see it now, can you?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not gonna walk through too much of this because there's a lot here. And like my dad said, I feel like we would get into the weeds a little bit more than we probably should today. But I do want to give you an update on where we are, what direction we're headed, and some of the, I don't know if issues is the right word, but some of the things that have popped up as I've gone about this that are still unresolved, because there are some things that need attention that will happen over the coming days. There are going to be some decisions that will need to be made. They don't necessarily need to be made today, but I want to kind of clue you in on what those might be. And I guess that's it for my little intro. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to walk you through high level here, okay? So,
And Matt, let me just jump in here real quick and say, yeah, I don't, we may make some decisions today. I'm not expecting that we need to. What I'd like to do is have you give us an overview on where you think those decisions will need to be made. And I would like to plan a meeting for next week with the idea, with the hope that we can be making some of those decisions then, having had a chance to review this based on what you're telling us today.
I
So your,
totally-
your goal today is to kind of tell us what you've done, tell us where you think the issues are, tell us how to understand what it is that you've done. And then we'll go away and come back and talk about it after we've had a chance to look at it.
Yep, totally agree, Mike. That's the right approach. Okay, so when we're getting down to the subject and the grade level, which has really been our focus since we last met with this tool, you wouldn't see that so much. There are only certain areas of the budget that you're going to see the grade level show up and the subject show up. One area would be supplies. We saw that there, but supplies isn't huge dollars. So we focused, at least initially, on teachers and their grade level and their subject, and tried to classify each teacher that is part of the FY22 planning and budget process with a grade level if appropriate and with a subject if appropriate. And this was our work. We did this, these classifications. They have not yet been run by anyone at the districts. I presume at some point we will, in the near future, pull Joanne and Tanya in for these things, just to make sure that they look right to them. But they did give us guidance prior to this work, and that was, okay, here's where you're going to find where the grade level would be, and here's where you're going to find where the subject would be, and we followed that guidance. So hopefully it would check out okay, but we still want to pull them in. So the first step that was done was to go through Gail Montague's FY22 teacher salary file, and that's the one that I worked on is here. And you can see in this area here on the position description that you get a little bit here. You get subject, if you will, with some of these things like PE, for example. ELL is down here. There's a health in here. There's a psychologist in here. And then you have grade 3 teacher here. So grade 3 teacher wouldn't necessarily be a subject. We have that more as a grade level. And we're not even using grade 3 in this case. We're classifying it as elementary, being a little bit more broad with the grade level classification. So those are just some examples. For this particular teacher, you could argue that maybe there's a grade level and there's a subject, because you have grades 2 through 3, which would be elementary grade level, and SPED, you could argue, would be a subject, and that's what we have.
Where are you showing us this, Mark? Yeah.
Are you not able to see the screen, Mike, or are you?
Okay, I see now. Okay, SPED teacher grade 2 through 3.
Yep, I'm just kind of moving the arrows around here as I
Okay.
speak.
No,
Yep.
okay,
So,
I can see where you are. Okay.
yep,
Matt, if you highlight on the row number, it'll highlight the whole line and you'll be able to see.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yep, so I was just talking about a few examples here in column B, Mike, of some of the things that we see. Okay, so I wanted to leave the file, this tab, intact as much as I could. So what I ended up doing was going way off here to the right and basically started working on some of the coding. Pulled in the account number because that's important for linking to the main budget area. I have a location code based on a list of locations. And also, again, if we went back to the left, you can see the wording of a location here, which I used for the location list. If there was a grade that I found in the position description, which you can see in column B, still right over here, I've noted it here. And then I pulled in a grade level from a list that I created and gave it a code. I'll show you that list in a moment. And then off a little bit further to the right, and I know Zoom windows may prevent us from looking at this. I'm going to move over a little bit more. We have a subject. So I was pulling in from this column B, wherever I thought appropriate. And this was, again, my interpretation of subjects. Your interpretation could be totally different. And this is one of the things we'll be talking about over the coming days. And then ended up coding it based on a list that I created. So this was really the first pass. Okay, let's go through the Gail Montague list. Let's try and come up with a grade level if we can for each of these teachers. Let's try and come up with...
Quick question before you jump. So early, I was muted, so I couldn't ask it when you had it up on the screen. I apologize. So I saw, I forget what it was. Let's say it was a PE teacher and it said FTE for full-time equivalent. And then I thought it said, let's say 20%. I don't know. I'm assuming it was percent or whatever that number was, but then it said 70,000 as a salary. So I must have been looking at it wrong because it seemed like it was saying 70,000 was the salary for a 0.20, or maybe it was a 0.40. But I must be reading that column wrong, because that wouldn't make sense. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, so are you wondering if the 70,000 is right, or you're
Well, I
expecting?
don't, well, I don't know how you're getting 70,000. Is the FTE 20, can you scroll back to that column? And that will just clear it all up in my, because I'm sure I'm just making an error in what I'm looking at.
Was it on
I'm
this?
going over. Yeah,
Was
it was
that-
on that one. So it said, where was I looking? Let's say PE, you see where it says 0.20? Is that the FTE, like it's 20%?
That is my interpretation of it, yes.
So
So
Alan,
if you
Would
were,
you like me to answer that?
yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know
yeah,
if that's,
yeah. Please, what
Okay,
am I looking
so-
at wrong?
So the FTE is 0.2 for that particular teacher. That must be, so we have 0.2, 0.2, and a 0.6. That's one whole person. See the 3 in a row, 0.2, 0.2, 0.6. So we have 2 small
Okay.
elementary schools and they each have a 0.2. And then the large
Yep.
elementary school has 0.6. So the first
Okay.
column, the next column beyond that, 70,963, that's 100% of the salary. And then the column after that shows the salary calculation based on that salary.
Thank you. That's what I was missing.
Right.
Went across and I was trying to find out where that calculation was. Thank you,
Yep.
Joanne.
You're welcome.
So if this was one FTE, this particular teacher would
Yep.
have the full 70,000. But because this particular teacher is 0.2, you're taking 20% of that full salary.
Yeah.
Okay. We're good there?
We're perfectly good. I just
All right.
couldn't catch that column that did that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So again, so in summary on this tab, try and come up with a grade level if you can. Try and come up with a subject if you can. And from there, I created a very first pass of a grade level list here. Very simplistic. Captures all the grade levels that we think we need. One additional one could be an after school, which was something my dad and I talked about. We don't have it in there now. We could include that if that is necessary.
Joanne and Tanya, do you have after-school programs?
so we did not run out of school time this year, but we will run it next year, but it is in its own, like its own fund. It's not part of our regular budget and it's only for elementary school.
Do we need an after-school program as part of this combined budget effort?
I don't think so.
No, I
Our
would say
after
no
school-
because it's funded through the budget.
Our after school program is funded and run by the collaborative.
Okay, thank you.
So seemingly we're good there.
So I have a question before you go away from that. You have secondary and you have middle, junior high, and you have high.
What's the difference?
Yes.
Good question. So this is one of the things that I feel like we'll get sorted out in the near future. But the reason why is because as we went through the list of individuals with Gail Montague, there is one chair that is tied to secondary that is not tied to just the middle school or just the high school. It's covering both. But there are also teachers that are specific to the middle school and teachers that are specific to the high school. So you're not going to find, based on this initial pass, you're not going to find much in the secondary grouping, except for maybe just that chair.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I just say, if we have something that's just considered secondary, you could just split that 50-50 between middle school and high school. So I think our team chair is a position that does that. Our psychologist would be something else. And they might just be coded. I mean, they have to be coded to one or the other, high school or middle school, but they can be split about 50-50.
Okay, that's a good idea. And then we could eliminate the secondary code here. All right, so this subject list, I feel like is something that we would talk about maybe as a group, maybe next time. But this is really a first pass based on those classifications that I just showed you on that other tab. And there's some repetition here. It could be, what's the right word? Maybe cleaned up, maybe we wouldn't need as many with another pass, just kind of getting rid of redundant ones. And you know, we have some teachers that are split between some of them, so that doesn't really make sense. We would probably split those out. But this was the first pass based on what I come up with when going through the Gil Montague file. And I think it's alphabetical. And I just did codes 1 through however long it went. And we got up to 34. And what I did was I then did a pass through the Pioneer Valley listing and tried to fit the subjects there into this list. And I did pretty well. I mean, it wasn't perfect. And I highlighted the ones that I thought made sense to highlight, just so that I didn't lose track of questioning whether that made sense. And there was one, like my dad mentioned, that just didn't seem to fit at all, and that was woodworking. So I added that, and I may end up adding more depending on the next time I look at it. But just so everyone's aware, I created this list, and then I tried to use this list for doing the same exercise with the Pioneer Valley teachers. And that was done on this tab, I believe. And it might be hard to see. There are a lot of columns in this tab. So you gotta look way off here to the right if you can see it with the windows for Zoom. If not, I can rearrange this file a little bit, but we're out in column CK or something like that. So it's pretty far out to the right. But the same exact concepts. I did a location code. I don't need to do a count because it's here in column B, as you can see. There's the passage subject, and I highlighted in yellow ones that I thought might need a review. And there's your grade level based on the information available. So for example, this one I have highlighted here, it says HS English in the department. So to me, that was high school English. I was able to classify as high school. Then down below a little bit further, you get your MSs, which obviously mean middle school. And then you go a little bit further. We have 2 music rows here, not tied to any particular level, even though it's at the regional school. So maybe that would be a secondary, maybe. But we have it as
0.5, that means it's the high school based on location.
okay.
So the 5 before the second digit before the N means it's Pioneer. So those are our music teachers. I think the issue with that is we actually lost a music teacher in the middle of the year and got a new one. So that may be why you have 2 lines. So we can chat about that later.
Okay, yep. So you think that that's high school level and not middle school, high school, just high school?
Well, our PVRS is middle school, high school. So yeah, it would be secondary. But again, I have to look to see if it's music and band, or I'd have to look at the actual detail to clarify that.
Okay.
We want to get away from secondary and we want to get more specific into middle versus high school.
Right, and that's why because obviously I'm on my phone, I'm actually with my son getting his haircut, so I apologize for the background noise. But Once I actually have that Excel in front of me and I can look at those positions, I can let you know more what the split is between high school and middle school so that can accurately be split out.
Yeah, we're not looking for answers today. We're just showing you the approach and logic to merging the two budgets.
Yeah, Tanya, I have a whole list of stuff here that I plan on speaking to you about, and this is just one of them. So, you know, we'll be in touch about this. Hopefully we can set up sometime this week to go over these things. Okay. So same approach, but one thing I want to point out, and I've already talked about a little bit, I showed you the list of codes a moment ago on that other tab. So I used Excel functionality to pull in the code on this tab as well. So that 15 is coming from that other list to represent music, okay? And the coding is important because then when we're pulling it in to the main budget tab, we're using the code, we're not using the wording. Although I guess we could use the wording, but for now we're using the code. Okay, so the next step was to try and get this into the main budget file. And the first step I did was with Gil Montague, and this is Joanne's budget file, budget file. It's just on a tab in this workbook, but so what I did here was anytime there was I referenced back to the other list that I created for Gil Montague and the teachers. And anytime I had done some classification at the grade level or the subject level, I wanted to pull that in here. Now, not every line in here is going to have a grade level or a subject level, not even close to every line. This file has 500 something rows in it. And I had classified, well, it's even less than that. I have 96 in here that I did classifications for, but I've created additional rows. So it's actually a lot less than that. Probably somewhere around 40, I would guess, where there were grade level or subject that needed to be pulled in. So I was able to identify which rows in here would have a grade level and or a subject. And what I did was I basically determined how many unique rows would need to be created for that row in order to account for each different possibility. So for example, let's see if I cannot lose you with that statement. If we go back, this is another tab I haven't even showed you yet. So this is at the summary level as opposed to at the detailed person level. But I think I can find one like right here, for example. Looks like it's the same. So this is 7 different rows with the same account number. See the same account number in column A there? So I've identified, I believe, 7 different unique situations, I'll call it, with this account number. So with this account number, there's at least one kindergarten teacher. There's at least one elementary teacher, probably a lot more when we look at that total salary of 318 there. I don't have the number yet. I'm going to add that, but we just have dollars for right now. And then we have subjects. We have an art, we have music, PE, reading, technology, education. So to me, that meant that for this account number, I needed to create 7 different rows. So if we go back to here and we do a search, because it's just easier, and it didn't find it because I need to do it this way. So here are your rows for that one particular account, for that one account number that I just showed you. Now, when I first got into this file, there was only one row in the budget. But in order to segregate out the different dollars by subject, by grade level for this account, it was necessary to create all 7. So I basically just copied that line, created 7 versions of it, It's the exact same line, except now I've pulled in the coding here for the different subject and grade level right here. So the 2 and the 3 will tie out to, I think, the kindergarten on the other tab. 3 is the elementary on the other tab. And then these are the different subjects I just showed you here. Again, the code. So we don't have the wording here yet. It's just the code. And then a formula here to pull in the dollar amounts from that other tab. And you'll see this 318 is the number we were just looking at on that other tab. So if we were to combine all 7 of these with the dollar amounts here, that's going to equal whatever the original budget amount was on this line item. And the Gil Montague work that I did on this tab, I was able to fully reconcile the dollars for the work that I did. So that was good. I'm still not all the way there with Pioneer Valley. I'm close, but I'm not all the way there. So there's more reconciliation to be done there. So I'm planning on showing you a very similar setup on the Pioneer Valley tabs, but I guess now might be a good time to stop for any questions or comments of what I just showed you. That means there are none.
Looks fine to me.
All right. I'll keep
We're overwhelmed. It's amazing how much you've done.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Thank you.
Okay, so for Pioneer Valley, same approach, but again, not fully reconciled and have some questions for Tanya, as I already mentioned, that will get sorted out. Now, as my dad mentioned earlier, the approach to the Pioneer Valley data is a little bit different because back here, this is Gil Montague's file tab. There's basically the whole budget's here. I guess the whole budget is here. With Pioneer Valley, we do have a full budget here, but it's a little high level. You don't see the account numbers, you don't see the breakdowns, but the breakdowns are on individual tabs that tie into that other tab I just showed you. So with these different tabs, you kind of had to go searching a little bit to find what, which rows or which accounts to focus on. And I found myself stopping when I got to the salary tab. So here's the elementary salary tabs, and it was the same approach. So these, you see these 5s in column L here, that told me that I needed 5 rows. So I added 5 rows and I pulled in the grade level just like I did before. 1 is preschool, 2 is kindergarten, 3 is elementary. And then there were 2 other rows that were tied to subjects. And 18 and 22, let's just look real quick so we can familiarize ourselves. 22 is reading, 18 is PE. Okay. So this 18 row is PE and this 22 row is reading. And then off here you'll see the yellow. I focused on the 22 requested column. We don't necessarily have to, but that's the column I focused on to pull in dollar amounts. And I pulled in from a certain column on the other tab, and I'm not yet convinced it's actually the right column. That was another column. That was another reason why I had to talk to Tanya. It might be the reason why I'm off with my reconciliation too. So, but at least the setup is there. It wouldn't be that hard to tweak it if I'm pulling from the wrong place. But going downward, we had 4 rows for this account, 7 rows for this account, and that row is highlighted in yellow because I have a question on it for Tanya. Individual rows, these are all 1s because the account number is different over here. Nurse, same thing, account number is a little bit different, so that's why it's a 1. But I did pull in the subjects for each of these rows, and because I pulled that in, I'm getting dollar amounts pulled in as well. And the same thing, the next tab is on the Pvrs Salaries tab, so this would be for the middle school, high school. Same setup, we had a 17 rower here, So that was fun adding all those rows, but we got them in. And then the only other tab that I thought made sense at this time, well, my test revealed that it made sense, but was the SPED tab, because we have SPED teachers identified and the same exact methodology here. So those were all the tabs for Pioneer Valley that were necessary to get at the teachers' grade levels, subjects. At some point, maybe we get down to supplies. I think we're planning on doing that. That might be a good next step. But so far, like I said, we've been focused on salaries, and we got along pretty far. There's still a little bit of work here to be done to kind of reconcile it and clean this up a little bit. And I plan on working with Tanya to help with that over the next few days, assuming she's available. And then the next step after that is going to be pulling this all together on one combined budget tab, because right now it's still pretty separate at this point. And that was what I was planning on showing you, but I'm happy to take questions or comments.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
The one question that I had as we went along was the subject list.
Yes.
At some point, we need to discuss that with the education subcommittee.
Well, I have a little news on that, Jim.
They quit?
Well, basically, I talked with Deb Potee over the weekend. I had emailed her a couple of times and got no response. And she told me that they are not planning to either come up with what is actually being offered right now at the two districts, or with any specificity what might be offered in a combined district. That she has spoken with Jay Barry, the consultant, and he told her that the consultants are going to do basically what they agreed to do. And I haven't gone back and looked at their response to confirm what that is. But according to Deb, she doesn't see a usefulness in getting a list of what's offered now, because it changes from year to year based on what kids want to do. So that knowing what happens now doesn't tell you anything about what will happen next year. And so we're not going, and so they're not going to develop alternative. And she also said that Jay Barry told her that a number of the questions we had asked were answered in the previous report, and he referred her and us back to their report and said, look in there, it's all there. And she also offered that if we have questions, we can communicate with Jay Barry directly.
Mike, I will follow that up. I will call her when we get off here, and then I will talk to Jay Barry. I'm disappointed to hear that. I'm here. If I'm hearing you correctly, I'm hearing you say that when they were looking at what possibly could be for courses, and they were supposed to be meeting with people and talking to people, I'm hearing you say that Jay Barry had pushed back and said, no, they're not doing that. Am I hearing that correctly?
That's what I think I heard, Alan.
That's not acceptable. Hope they don't plan on
Okay.
getting paid.
Well, you should talk to them. I mean,
I will. That is not okay. That is not
Yeah, well-
okay. I will find out. I'm assuming I'm misunderstanding something here, because we were
and
trying to
it
be
may
really
be me.
clear.
It may be me, and feel free to, I mean,
Yeah.
like I say, I talked with Deb. I called her just to see if she got my emails, and she said, well, yes, she had, but it was very complicated and we should talk. And then we talked, and that's my understanding of what she told me, and I basically thought, well, it's not up to me to argue with her. I'll
Yeah,
pass
no,
this
no,
along.
I'll
So-
follow up. Yeah,
So I may have
I'm
misunderstood,
misunderstanding or
but
something, because that doesn't make sense to me, but,
you know, I said we
let me-
want to get a sense of what, you know, what the costs are going to be, and her response basically was, well, we're not going to be doing any of that. So,
all right, thank you. I will, I've got a meeting coming up at 7:15 today, so, I'm going to jump off and, make a phone call and follow that up. Do you need me for the quorum? I'll stay on. Are you going to? I didn't notice, Mike, on the agenda, it said nothing about next meeting. It just went to adjourn, so keep that in mind.
okay, well, at the end of the meeting, we always talk about when we're going to have the next meeting, so. Yeah, well, and I think you can plan on one next week, Alan, based on what we've seen so far.
I'm just trying to figure out when, but okay, you can let me know and I'll see if I can make it then, I guess.
Yeah, well, we're pretty set on Tuesday at 4:30.
Okay,
Because of Michelle, who isn't here today.
yeah. All right, thanks. Yeah, let me
Okay.
see what's going on. It sounds like
Okay.
things got
Well, thank
complicated.
you,
and I
Ellen. And,
didn't
you know,
know. Yeah.
maybe we could get a report from you next time then.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll figure out how to figure this out somehow.
Okay, good. Well, good question, Jane.
Yes, my goodness. That uncovered a can of worms.
It's not the answer I was expecting.
Me neither. It's,
So Jane, comments on what Matt just showed us?
I'm really impressed with it. My one concern is that this spreadsheet got so big that we can't download it.
Well, we sent it to Mike today. Mike received it and sent it to you. And remember, this is a working file. It needs some cleaning up once the questions are answered, and then it needs to be condensed into one combined budget file.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I can speak a little bit more about that. Excel, if you use certain formulas in Excel and you use a lot of them, the size of the file can get quite large. So the file is very formula heavy at the moment. Once we get it to the point where we want it to be, and you know, there's still more work to do to get there, as my dad mentioned, we will clean up the formulas that are no longer needed and it won't be quite as large. So I wouldn't worry about that. I don't think it's going to be a concern long term.
All right.
You.
Okay. Lynn, did you have something?
Can I ask a question so that maybe it's, and I
Well,
don't know
hang on a
that
sec.
everybody.
Let me just, Tanya, let me see if Lynn has something.
No, I'm following and I agree with you all. I'm concerned about the education committee piece and that just remains to be seen.
Okay. Tanya?
I was actually just gonna ask about the file format and see if there was a way that Matt and Mark could actually put that in Google Sheets. That way it could just be shared but I don't know that everybody that's on these committees has a Gmail account and would have access to it, and he could just share it with us as viewers. That way all the formulas could stay and there's no concern about emailing large files back and forth. And then when the document is edited, it's real time. So if the committee wanted to see where they were at with it, they could kind of see, you know, the work in progress. That's what I do with all my budget documents during budget season, and it seems to work out really well. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any experience using Google Sheets in that way.
Don't either.
It literally works the same way as Excel, but it's a live document and you can give people view access, comment access, edit access, etc. So it can be a collaborative real-time effort, and it cuts down on all the emails back and forth. So when one change is made, you don't have to send a whole updated file out. You can just send an email to the group affected and say, you know, the file's been updated, please review, and then everybody knows where to go to get it.
Hmm.
I'm not a big fan of Google Sheets, so I still use Excel on my budget, but I also don't like to share, so I just
Well-
work on it myself.
The issue is Google Sheets lose a lot of functionality that Excel provides. So that's the trade-off.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Google Sheets offered everything Excel did. I'm
Yeah, I
happy
haven't
with
had any
Excel.
problems with my formularies in Google Sheets, and I use it a lot, but again, you know, the
Well-
VLOOKUPs and the matching and stuff that Matt's doing here to create the coding, I don't think is anything that Google Sheets can't handle. But if you guys don't want to use it, you don't have to. I just thought for the people that are having difficulty with the file size and stuff, it would help eliminate that.
I don't know that
Well-
anybody's having difficulty with the file size.
Yeah, why don't we just sort of keep that in the back of our minds? I'm happy to move ahead with Excel, and if we run into a point where we're having a problem, we'll reconsider.
Okay, I thought someone mentioned they had a hard time downloading it because of the size, so I was just putting out a suggestion.
No, it's just a concern.
So
Okay.
you can see we have some validation to do with Tanya and Joanne. Tanya and Joanne, are you available later this week?
I mean, it depends on the time of day. So if you can send me your availability, I can let you know if I have other meetings that conflict with it or not.
Okay, Joanne?
I should be able to find some, but I guess I'm just, if you can send me what your questions are first, you know, I'd rather do this through the email, you know, with the descriptions as much as I can.
That's fair. So we see,
I just had, I just had a couple things. First of all, I agree with, that you guys have done a lot of work. This is looking pretty good so far. Understanding that it's a work in progress. There's been a lot of work put into this, and I think, I think we're on the path to something. One suggestion for you to consider would be, there are a lot of tabs in this file. And I understand that's because they are the original tabs from the two budget files, and some of which are being sort of edited on the fly with the formulas, if I've gotten that right. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. So we're working off of the original budget tabs for now, just
Okay.
because we're trying to tie a salary sheet to the budget sheet.
Right, which is I think that's exactly, certainly one of the things that I think we want to see done. My suggestion is to, first of all, color code, and I guess, let me put it this way, to keep separate the original sheets from the two budgets and anything new that you guys are doing. Basically do all that on new tabs, or new sheets. Just to kind of keep things, so that I'm sort of looking ahead to when we say, okay, now what do we do about FY23? Okay, or I'm assuming now, are you guys working with FY22 or FY21?
We're working off of 22 numbers because they're available in these files.
Okay, oh, I see 22, okay. So, but we may, in the future, one of the goals of this tool is to be able to say, okay, here now we're around FY23. We wanted to have the ability to put those numbers in there, and it just seems like it would be easier if the tabs that were from the original district budgets were all still the same in here.
Yep.
And we could just, put the new numbers in however we want to do that and go from there. And as sort of a corollary suggestion, if they could be color coded, so it'd be easy to tell that these are the ones that are from the original files and basically should be identical to those worksheets in the original files. Just to make it a little easier to understand, where the new stuff is being done and where all the old stuff, which is being drawn from but isn't being changed, is. I'm just sort of looking ahead, and that's a suggestion. The other thing is, and I don't know how big a deal this is, but I noticed when I opened it up, I got a couple messages about wanting to update things that it couldn't find. And I thought I knew how to identify exactly where those things were in the file. But in the 5 minutes that I spent trying to do that, which I thought would be plenty of time, I wasn't able to. One of them was looking for something on harcourt.com, some sort of document there. And the other thing it was looking on the DESI website. Oh, it looks like one of DESI's spreadsheets, Choice Hist XLS, which has something to do with school choice, as I recall. So I was just hoping there was a way to eliminate those things so that we don't.
Yep. Yeah,
so we don't run into that, basically.
that's one of the tricky things with Excel is that sometimes it's easier just to link to existing documents than to type in a number, and it eliminates the possibility of human error with fat fingering when you're typing something. And then those things just exist, and then files get shared, and that linking gets lost, or it's looking for a file that you don't have access to, and that's where it gets tricky. So it's always good practice after doing all that to clean all that up. So I agree with you, Mike. At some point it should be done.
Okay, well, good. As long as we, as long as we agree on that, it's as long as it's a work in progress, I'm happy to live with it. But if we can get it fixed by the end, a trick, you probably know this, Matt, but a trick I've used is if you do a copy and then a paste number on all those places, that does eliminate a lot of typing. So. I like it. I mean, I think, you do have a few things to work out, but it looks like you're on the right track. Hopefully you can get some good answers from Joanne and Tanya. And, I'd like to spend some time looking around. Matt, did you consider using, it looks like you've only used formulas in this. You haven't used any macros. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true for now. I do have the ability to create macros. I have not yet. I don't know if I will, because I was able to do what I wanted to so far with just formulas.
Okay.
And some people aren't familiar with macros, so that gets into another tricky situation with Excel, because there's that security thing that Excel has, and rightfully so, because technically the macro is a program, and someone could build a malicious program, and when you pass the file around, it could run. So they have that security for that reason. So for people who aren't familiar with macros or don't run them, there's a little bit of that initial step that would need to take place in order to allow them to be run, which I actually have instructions for. So if we ever got to that point, we could make it happen. But yeah, you're right, Mike. I have not created any macros so far.
Okay. And I, I'm not trying to, to do your job for you. So, but it just occurred to me when people were talking about file size that I do have a little experience with macros, and I found them to be, you know, pretty handy when using a lot of formulas gets kind of hairy. Sometimes a few macros can save a lot of work. And
Yep.
I've also had good luck putting all the macros in a separate workbook so that
Yep.
you know, it doesn't, especially when you want to be changing data in one place, you don't have to be passing the macro file around all the time. You can
Yep,
just pass the
that's-
one.
That's
with
a
the
good point.
data.
I've done that as well, Mike. That's a good point.
Yeah, so, but anyway, well, you know, we can, maybe that's down the road when we, you know, we're sort of polishing up the user friendliness of the final result.
Mark, can I, when we're done this meeting, can I give you a quick call? I wanted to ask you a quick couple questions about
Sure.
another topic. Do I use the 617 number or the 508?
Use the 617.
Okay. And Mike, I did talk to Deb Otay.
Okay, can
And,
we hold that for a minute, Alan? Because I just want to finish up with, you know, with the spreadsheet.
Oh, I thought we were done.
Well, Matt and I were just finishing up. So, so I just want to, you know, I just want to get it clear. I mean, you guys are going to keep working on this. In the meantime, at least some of us on the committee are going to be looking at what you've done so far and trying to understand it and get our heads around it. Do you foresee having something else to show us in time that we can look at it before the next meeting? I mean, if the answer is no, that's fine. I'm just wondering what we could expect.
No, I think it's reasonable to think that you're going to have an improved version of what you're looking at here. We're going to continue to work on it, and I expect it to be set up better, to be improved flow-wise, layout-wise than what you're looking at here. You know, this was kind of a working model, as we talked about, work in progress. Without those extra steps, start cleaning it up and making it more user-friendly, so to speak. So yeah, you're welcome to go through it, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it. But it's definitely you know, a bit on the messy side at the moment, and can definitely be
Okay.
benefit from.
Well, I guess that's what I was thinking
Yeah.
was, you know, how useful is it? Because I think at some point we are going to want to look through it, because one of our goals is to understand, you know, what it's doing and how we can use it.
Yep.
And we don't want to wait too long on getting there. On the other hand, you know, it's like, we don't want to be picking our way around through a construction site trying to imagine, you know, what the room's going to look like with the furniture, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. So it is very much a construction site right now, and I feel like the finished product will look different and be more user friendly. So
Okay.
I think, you know, you're welcome to, and but I wouldn't spend large amounts of time on it, because I think you might end up down a few rabbit holes that might be tricky to navigate. So
Okay. Well, no, I think that's good advice. Okay. So on that note, we'll expect to see something new for next week. And, you know, if you can get it to us a little ahead of time, that's great. And if not, we'll deal with it.
yep, it's my goal to get you something ahead of time.
Okay. Do you guys have more for us at this point?
That's all that I had.
That's all I had.
Okay, great. Well, Alan, I think you have an update from Deb.
Yeah, I guess, you know, she's pretty content on what's going on, and getting the information that they're looking for. So I have a scheduled conversation with her tomorrow morning to get an update, and I'm going to pick your brain, Mike, to do a review, and I'll do the same with her. And then I'll put an article in the paper to, you know, have a follow-up so people know what's happening with the Sixtown Regional Planning Board during these last couple months and the next 2 months.
Okay,
So I'll do a press release, but I think we're okay there.
you think we are?
Yep, according to Deb, so I'll talk to her tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I'd recommend that, based on her comment to me that Jay Barry had said it's all in the previous report, that maybe people on our committee should go back to that report and see if we agree with that statement. Or maybe see the extent. I know there's some things in the report. Maybe it's worth trying to confirm what's there and what, if anything, is not there.
Well, it might be a better use of time to find out specifically what they feel that they've already covered. So we're not, hunting around and we know what's there. Joanne?
Alan, I just sent you an email with some documents. So if you want to take a look at those, maybe at the end of this meeting, we could stay online and just chat about that. I have some ideas.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. I think that's about it, except agreeing to meet next Tuesday. Jane, Lynn, is that good with you guys?
I think it is. Let me get my calendar. I forgot to bring it with me.
Fine with me.
And could someone send me could you send the May minutes? I couldn't find those.
Me? I
Yes.
did send them. For some reason, the wrong file got attached because the letters are so little. And as soon as I saw your emails, I resent it with what I hope is a proper file.
Right, I got that. Haven't read it yet, but I got it.
Okay, so it's coming from you, Lynn. All right, I'll look again.
The 25th is fine.
And it was in terms of how it worked out, it worked out as a response to one of the sub members, and I'm not sure who it was.
I think it was actually a
Let me look and
response.
see.
It was a response to Mark, it looks like. And Alan, it came
That
through
sounds right.
just before 3 o'clock today.
Today? Oh,
Today.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
Yeah, it came through it. When I sent it was at 2:56 this afternoon.
All right, thank you.
And we're on for next Tuesday at 4:30.
Next Tuesday at 4:30. And I
Yes.
think we will, I guess, hear from Alan about any updates on the education side, and keep going with Mark and Matt.
Sounds good. Mondays, starting the 24th and going forward, every other Monday, I won't be available because was elected to the Board of Selectmen in Warwick, so they meet on every other Monday.
How'd that happen, Alan?
Don't even
Well,
go there.
Hopefully that's a congratulations.
I think.
It's a something.
Well, we're pretty set for Tuesday afternoons. We have people with schedules that are pretty tight, so
Yep.
Tuesday at
But I like the
4:30.
4:30. Yeah, I like the 4:30 because I have a meeting at 7 tonight, 6:45 and then 7:15. So this is good.
Okay. Well, anybody have anything else?
You'll send me the recording, Mike?
I will send you the recording.
All right, good job.
I'll send everybody
So,
a link, so.
So Joanne, you're gonna stay on?
Okay.
Yes.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion adjourned. Second.
Okay. Motion's been made to adjourn. All in favor, Jane Dutcher,
Aye.
Lynn Reynolds,
Aye.
Alan Genovese.
Aye.
I don't know if Greg Snedeker is still around.
No.
Doesn't look like it. Mike Naughton, aye. This meeting is adjourned. But Alan and Joanne, you want to stay on a little bit? I'll keep the
Yep.
thing open.
Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good week, guys. And thanks
Thank you.
again,
You
Mike,
too.
Matt and Mark.
You're
That
welcome.
looked really good.
Yeah, thank you so much. They're doing an awesome job.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
We're getting bigger.
Okay, so I don't know if you're at your computer, if you can look at the email I sent you. So when they,
So how can I do that? Let's see. Can I, so educate me. So I'm on Zoom. Can I can
Yep.
shrink this so I don't see you for a minute,
Yep.
right?
all the way at the
So-
top, you know, there's the little line and then there's the square and then there's the X. Hit the
Yep.
little, the square. And that should make it, minimize it a little bit.
Oh yeah, now I can see you. Perfect. And now I will go to my email. Thank you. This will, oh, I guess when I talk, I come up. When you talk, you come up.
Right.
Joey Bly response. Here we go.
Yep. So I
the
forwarded you their initial proposal. So if you go to page 5. And we had
All right, so
talked
I have
about
three-
this.
I have 3
Remember?
attachments. Which one do I want? There's,
Go to reply to GM. The one that says
Okay.
it's called reply
Yep.
to.
and then it comes up a proposal. Yep.
Yep. So go to page 5, right at the very top of page 5.
Okay,
Oh, this is still recording.
it is?
You want me to stop recording?
Yeah, please.